Welcome back to the SnackWalls podcast. I'm Mike Roberts, your host, and we're here to talk about increasing and maintaining diversity in tech beyond the perks. While companies think they can lure people in with unlimited PTO and dogs in the office, we're here to talk about how you keep them. All right, I'm going to throw it over to our special guest today. Can you tell us in a few sentences who you are and what it is that you do?
Sure. Thank you, Mike. My name is Sergio Marrero, and I'm managing partner of Rebel One. Rebel One, we are an investor network and an impact fund, investing in startups that are diverse, and then also helping their diverse teams. So related to the subject at hand. So thanks, Mike. Nice.
Appreciate that. All that hard work is going to create tons of opportunity. So I love hearing stories from folks that are doing this kind of work. In this space, I'm hearing from some tech leaders that finding diverse talent is a challenge. What are your thoughts?
I think it's all, some of it is lip service, and people say you need to like hire or wire, right? You could say it's important all you want. You can make office hours and you could source candidates, but the real test is, are you moving to make offers and hire people and put them on your team? Or at least for investors, are you putting the money in? Are you investing? A way to find diverse talent is to actually staff recruiters and things like that are on your team that are also diverse, because they bring those networks, right? So if you want more women or more people of color, put your money where your mouth is, hire those people onto your team. If you don't have a recruiter, there are plenty of organizations that you can partner with, from Jopwell, MLT. It depends where in the world you are, right? There's different organizations, but you need to ask that. But at the end of the day, it's not paying it lip service. And one thing that we look at least for investors, is we tell them, don't do something nominal like making office hours or writing a blog or doing something in media so you're seen as making an impact and not really moving the needle. Like, that is unapologetically something that you're doing to make yourself feel good, and you're not really solving the problem at hand. So, it takes action, and that's what we push people to bias toward that.
Nice. I'm all about taking action. I mean, the lip service, I've had it up to here.
That's right.
But I think there's plenty for us to do. And so when I think about that, I do hear from some tech leaders that they want to push to remove things like the requirement for CS degrees to lower some of those barriers. So what do you think about that, the effort to remove the requirements for engineering roles to have a CS degree?
That's a great question. And just to give a little context of my background, I've innovated mostly in the ed tech space, education technology space, have seen trends in higher education. I actually did research at Harvard on equal access to higher education, and did a TEDx talk at University of Princeton called "The Degree is Dead." So I have a much more, a very strong opinion that higher education and degrees aren't accessible to all people. Even in the United States, you're talking about, depending on the type of degree you're looking at, 35, so between 30 and 40%, if you're looking at 2 or 4 year degrees, have access to higher education or have a degree, and you're just eliminating a huge swath of the population that hasn't had the capital or just has had the resources to get a degree. Then the next level of the question is more often than not, what is being taught in the classroom is very far away from what's needed in the field. Really excited by efforts look at edX, you look at Coursera, you look at there's a few other, Southern New Hampshire University, which is known for their online program that makes it more affordable. But the most recent is probably the Google is pushing to create their own program that you pay $50 a month for. You get certified and you learn everything you need, and you can get a job with them. And that's the type of innovation it's going to take. It's going to come from employers saying, we don't need this arbitrary, piece of paper. We're really going to look at what you can do. What's tough is they'll get a lot of applicants and they're unsure. They have a lack of sophistication of how to filter down the candidates really quickly, which is why they use degrees right now. So like empathizing with where they are, and they're trying to understand how to differentiate candidates. But at the same time, I think the idea to question degrees, especially now, right? Like people aren't going to pay, 30, 60 grand to go to a virtual university to get where they're not interacting with people, not networking. And maybe some are, I think many people still are, but it really calls to question the value of what you're getting. That you're like, wow, I'm really paying for a piece of paper, a brand, and you're like, what am I learning that I couldn't learn on my own by myself or with less expensive programs?
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like that ROI conversation is like happening much more frequently now, and it's kind of just thrown in our face. Whereas before it was kind of, just slightly below the surface. People were trying to make a decision about, should I take on this much debt? The conversation was usually framed around debt. And now it's much more tangible of like, what are we actually getting in value back for the tuition that we're paying? So I think capping off your answer with that, I think is brilliant. People are making different assessments today than they were making even a year ago from a consumer standpoint. So, what about an apprenticeship pattern? Do you think that would work for tech roles?
I think for tech and design, I think those are the first. It's already happening, right? So I'll give you an example. When you're looking at hiring someone for a tech role, the first thing you look at, or one of the first things you look at, are their commits to GitHub. You're looking at for designers. You're looking at their profiles on like their profiles on the Adobe platform that are public with some of their or for, let's say, even if it's motion graphics, you're looking at their reel, right? You're defaulting to the work that they've done and samples of that. I think tech and design, that's already going to convert and has been converting, and I think it's a low barrier entry for the market to just move into doing that. I think the other areas, if you're hiring for someone in business or someone in marketing or someone, that's a little harder. Hasn't been standardized. It's hard to it's really hard to assess. That's why people end up hiring. They're like, oh, okay, where have you worked in the past? And then they'll hire you because they're assumed you've been trained up. So I think short answer, I think tech and design are it's already happening, and it will. I'm glad that it's almost becoming more public about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for a long time there's been this, summer internship philosophy of bringing people on and then being able to tangibly assess what's their portfolio look like, what are they capable of by just looking at their work, looking at the work product. And so I think it makes total sense to me that you'd be able to better assess and then sort of funnel them into programs that feed on that and give them the opportunity to have some mentorship and some direct learning about how to perform the job by doing pieces of the job throughout the process. So big advocate, big fan. I like it. What advice would you share with companies that are looking to retain diverse staff? So let's say they do a great job onboarding people, providing opportunities for folks to get into the organization. How do you keep them?
That's a great. I think what it really comes down to is at the simplest level, no matter where you look, is enabling people to feel like they can be their real selves where they are. I think and this speaks even generationally. I think in larger organizations there may be a culture to be more polite than direct, and it's giving people that space. Like there may be cultural norms in meetings that you have to operate a certain way, but especially in the digital environment now, hosting meetings that are just happy hours or just social, and even though it seems like the icebreaker is maybe elementary or things like that, like isolating it, saying there will be no business on this call, and getting a little bit more personal with people. I think it humanizes it So in a digital environment, you have to be intentional about what we call in terms of the future work is you have to structure on a serendipitous time. So where you would have a water cooler or you would pass by someone's desk, it is not the culture to just video chat someone or FaceTime someone in the middle of the day, right? Like not always. And it seems intrusive. Where stopping by someone's desk doesn't. So it's when you don't have that in the digital environment, it's even more important to meet people where they are. And I think those are and really listen to them. So I think like a lot of like letting people express themselves in the way they express themselves, listening and understanding like what people want. I have a hard time. I think right now a lot of companies are going to say, hey, I want more people to come back to a physical workplace. And I have a feeling that there's going to be many people that are just going to say no, or like why and how often do I need to be there? And it's really important to listen to that. What's going on in the workplace, or what does this space enable in their lives that coming to a physical workplace every day doesn't. So,
Sergio, I love that answer because again, it all focuses around space, and it's such a dichotomy from where we were like last year, right? And so this is definitely the future of work. I agree, and I think we're moving more in this direction of people. I mean, let's face it, a lot of software engineers really, this is one of the biggest perks they were usually asking for. Like, can I work remote? Can I work from home? Like, can I have that flexibility in the schedule? And so I agree, folks are not going to want to shift back. Although there could be a good number of people that do want that, maybe 3 or 4 days in the office and 1 day at home, or vice versa. So having that flexibility and listening to your team, because every team's culture is going to be different, I think is going to be super important. So
and I was going to say an example for personal example. Our program, we do run an investor training program. We run it virtually, so I can be in multiple locations. Was in the New York area, and then it got to a point where me and my partner said, "Hey, I want to go elsewhere," and then ended up. But I didn't quit, or she didn't. It's like we didn't. We kept working, but we ended up moving to temporarily to Chicago, and we're on our way to LA, and the work can continue, and it's enabling that flexibility, that freedom, it makes people happy, but also work can still continue. And I think it's a hard concept for older businesses to wrap their mind around.
Yeah, it is. And some of it is intrinsic in like the nature of the business that we do. And like being an employer, you have to look out for things like every state may have different rules and regulations regarding
Absolutely.
employment rules. And so an individual might think, well, it's no big deal for me to move to a different state. Like I can work remote. And the HR department is like, yeah, but now we have to figure out all these new rules that we have to follow in this new environment because it's where you live, not where we do business, right? So there are those pieces that I think more of the public is becoming aware of, and they understand and can have similarly empathy for the organizations that have to make a shift to make that available, because it's not necessarily all that challenging, but it is new decisions that have to be made and new systems that have to be set up and things like that. So, all right, one more question, and then the most important question. So,
Okay.
Who's someone like yourself that you think you'd like to acknowledge as a thought leader and should be a guest on a podcast like this?
Oh, absolutely. So, man, there's so many. But one individual that I would like to highlight that I think is excellent to talk about the future work is Roy Bahat. He's head of Bloomberg Beta, and admire his candor and his approach. He's always talking to communities of investors, because that's the kind of the ethos that he backs. So think he's excellent, and I'm really really excited by some of the work he's doing. So yeah, I'd recommend Roy.
Nice. All right. So he's on the radar. See if we can get him on the program. Where can we find out more information about what you're doing, your company?
Absolutely, yeah. RBL1, Rebel One. That's our website. If you are a early stage founder looking for funding or support, we talk to early stage founders and syndicate investments into them. Mostly aligned with the future of work, but we talk to underrepresented founders and women founders broadly. And then on the other side, if you are an investor, we have a angel and VC intensive training program. That is what runs the engine to do all the good work we do. So that's a 10-week process going from I don't know what I'm doing to fund construction and deploying capital. So, check us out at rbl1.com. And thanks for having me, Mike. So it's awesome.
Love it. So before you go, quick question. What have you been snacking on lately? What's your favorite snack?
Oh, man. So it's going to sound pretty funny, but one of my favorite things is actually smoothies. So
Smoothies are good.
Every morning I have a Ninja, and I put in it's like ginger, oranges, a bunch of fruit, and blend it up, and that's been my snack. But if people are looking for what's homemade, something simple rather than that, like bananas and almond butter, those are like go-to.
Nice. I like that. I'm a cyclist, so I eat a lot of bananas. So
there you go.
Got to keep the legs fresh. So,
that's it.
Thanks again, Sergio. I appreciate you coming on the program.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
The San Diego Code School is a proud sponsor of the SnackWalls podcast. The San Diego Code School is leading companies to tech equity. The tech-enabled apprenticeship program is a venture whose heart is to do a lot of social good and do good work. You can help San Diego Code School secure funding for change by hiring developers, bringing a team in to relieve your backlog, or becoming a program sponsor. You can visit us on the web for more information at http://sdcs.io.